Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the World Championship Series. Here, Cologne, Germany, ready for game number 3 of the day as I stutter myself over here to the desk where I had Pig and Colaris by my side. Day 1 yesterday was excellent. Day 2 has taken a turn for the better here. We've got Tilo and Laser in the winners match, which we can bring up now. You know, we've played a couple of games. We've got match 3 and match 4 going to be underway very, very shortly. So we got that winners match set up. The next game, though, this is not the game we thought we'd see today, and I think more specifically in the losers match. One of these players is going to be eliminated. MajOr in Season 1, last place in the group. Right now, he's staring at that same position because he's going up against the Season 1 champion here, Colaris.
Yeah, having cast those 2 series, I just didn't expect them in my wildest dreams to turn out like this. But here we are, and as Rotterdam said on the desk, actually, it's kind of interesting how this works out because MajOr's one of the players that isn't too bad against Polt here in the grand scheme of his StarCraft period.
Right, Jay. I mean, you were looking at those stats before, right, Pick?
Yeah, we've actually got a winning record in terms of maps in head-to-head for MajOr, 11 maps to 10 for Polt. Now, that being said, most of those wins were online qualifiers, and in the actual LAN head-to-head, Polt has won, I believe, every set.
Yeah.
So it's 4-4 in sets, but traditionally at these sort of LAN settings and the most important settings, Polt has always stepped up. So it's promising that MajOr has that record, you know, he's even in sets, but he's going to need to bring that performance here, and it's always different performing in a live audience. This isn't at home, it's not your own setup. You've got to be able to make that transition.
All right, Colaris, if we were to see Polt go out right now, just think about that for a second. I mean, people at home as well. He could go out right now. This is a guy who's won 7 StarCraft II tournaments. He's the only 3-time WCS holder of a championship. Is that something we can even think about happening right now?
It's a genuine possibility. With how good MajOr has been in TvT for a long time, I think he's always considered it to be one of his better matchups. It's definitely possible. We've seen Polt go up against a lot of Terrans in the past, have some success, has varied degrees of success against them,
right,
because there have been losses here and there, especially I think against like people like Bomber, for example. You know, those losses have come out along, and you know, MajOr can hang with a lot of people in TvT.
Well, MajOr, I mean, you said it, he's historically had a pretty good Terran versus Terran matchup. I think last season he played against Bunny in his opening match and actually almost beat him, which is a great feat in itself. Can he go toe-to-toe with Polt here? Because Polt, no doubt, is the favorite. He was the favorite against Tilo, despite him losing that match. He's the favorite now again. The maps, we've just seen them, we've had a look at them. We know mech has become a quite common trend recently, Pig.
You know, it's going to be really interesting to see how both players choose to play. Mech is definitely up, in the options. And we are going to see Coda, map 1 for MajOr. So for mech, TvT on Coda, I wouldn't pick that as a good map for it. I think it's quite hard to defend all your bases. I think there's some good counterattack paths. So I think MajOr's looking to play standard bio here. I think we can expect bio out of Polt. And interestingly, though, Polt does pick Varney Research Station. And personally, I'm not that familiar with how this map plays out in TvT. And we'll be going into Echo Game 3, fantastic mech map. What are your thoughts, Sean?
Well, I mean, personally, I think Varney Research Station is a great mech map. You know, just like game number 3 here. You know, moving away from the maps now a little bit. So I still can't get out the back of my mind that we could see the champion eliminated here, Colaris. I mean, MajOr has it within him to win this match, and it's not that unthinkable.
I mean, if you go back to how Polt addressed us in his small interview today, he was gunning for a 4th title, a 5th title, and now he's in the losers match.
Yeah.
Which I don't think we've ever seen Polt in the losers. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I can't quite remember every single season that he's been in, because he's been in a lot of them, but very rare you would see Polt in this situation.
Well, what did you watched the games with MajOr versus a Laser? Did he play well? Did he play bad? How would you assess MajOr's performance so far today?
I think it's a little bit hard to tell. Laser played a very interesting style, very aggressive, and he managed to, I think, force open holes in MajOr's play more than MajOr slipping up on his own. So MajOr, I think, naturally is more confident in his Terran versus Terran, and I think it comes down to, is Polt going to be able to force him into an uncomfortable position? Is he going to be able to force those mistakes? Because I feel like sometimes Major looks like he's almost perfect in his play, but it's when things start to go a little bit out of the way he's planned, and that's when we start to see some mistakes from him.
Who's the pressure really on?
We've got to say it's on both players here. I think Major, he's got the higher mountain to climb, but Polt's got to have that fear in the back of his head. He's got a title to protect. You do not want to go out in the round of 32 when you've just won Season 1. Polt, though, he's a veteran, and I'm expecting him to just go in with a killer face on and just go in with such tight builds, such tight execution. He's probably angry right now, and he does not want to lose right here.
Polt said in his interview that we played earlier on, he was going to win a 4th title and he was going to win a 5th title.
Not with that kind of result in the first series, that's for sure. But as you said, I think now it's like kill switch engaged. Like, pretty much, he's got to like actually buckle down completely. And Polt, he's not the kind of guy that's going to get nervous. He's not the kind of guy that's going to stutter in his performances, I feel, too much. So this is his time to kind of bring it back.
Did Polt play bad against TLO?
I don't think so. I think Polt played, I think his problem maybe was that he was a little bit predictable in that set. I think he played somewhat similar aggressive timing-based styles to what he played recently in the finals against Hydra. TLO, like he said, he planned for that. He did some beautiful 2-base Mutalisk play, and I don't think Polt ever got the opportunity to go to, say, the mid or late game on an even footing. And Polt has often said himself, there's been recent articles about his career and his many comebacks across all matchups, that once he gets to the mid to late game, he often just feels he's better than his opponent. And I think if he can try to just stretch this game out, that's going to be his goal. He doesn't want to risk putting too much gamble into the early game. He wants to get to the mid game.
All right, last question here then before we move on, or last couple. We're obviously looking at Polt as the favorite, clearly. What is the key to victory, if both of you could answer this, for Major to eliminate Polt now? And to be honest, make history. This is a massive, massive win for him.
I feel that Polt is always going to come in with kind of a bio focus, right? I mean, he's always trying to completely run rings around his opponents, and in a very MMA-esque style, drive his opponents crazy from all those seasons ago. So being Major on lockdown, I suppose. I'm scared that if Major plays mech, it's kind of too slow, and maybe Polt will be able to exploit it. I'm not. It's going to be very difficult.
Can he play to the speed of Polt, though? I mean, if it's slow, at least he can combat in a slow method, which is technically easier than trying to combat in a faster way.
It's such a difficult question. I wish I could see into Major's mind right now, because you're spot on correct there. Mech, well, hey, you don't need to play that same bio versus bio war, but on the other hand, you're giving a lot of space to Polt. The game's going to drag out if you're going mech. Honestly, I think what we really want to see Major focusing on is having very crisp, very smart openings with a little bit of maybe some risks mixed in there. Don't play too overly safe in that early game. And historically, what I've loved about Major's TvT is he has these very unique twists in his early game, which give him the ability to punish his opponents or just to get ahead in economy.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to prepare ourselves for elimination game. One of these players is going home. Can it really be the Season 1 champion that gets knocked out here? Can Mexico pull its way through? We'll find out with our casters. It's going to be Todd and Rotterdam.
Two worlds collide as our tournament champ has his life on the line. The reigning champ of Season 1, Polt, is going up against Major, one of the players that has the best head-to-head record against him of all our contenders in WCS. Todd, how ready are you for this one?
I'm very ready, man. I can't wait. I think going into this group, Polt, the last guy that he would like to play against is definitely Major. He was joking earlier, I think it was yesterday or before yesterday, he was talking to Major, he's like, you're going to be really tired on the day we have to play and you're not going to show up, you're going to feel sick. He was joking, of course, but when a player says that, usually he means it to some extent, because he knows that Major's TvT is just insane.
Yep, Major has been playing a lot of ladder lately. It's always hard to keep track on Major because he doesn't stream, doesn't really participate in a whole lot of tournaments. And I spoke to him after his first series. I actually think that's much more relevant. And I met him upstairs. He's like, hey, where's the food? He was really happy, like he just threw out the laser or something, but we all know he didn't. But he's like, he's like, no, I'm not worried at all. He's like, yeah, I wasn't not that familiar with his play, but if I play him again, I'll win. And he didn't seem that worried because he was also kind of assuming that Polt was going to win this group. I think if Major played Polt in the winner lower bracket match, he would have felt quite okay about it. You know, it's like a good shot. If not, well, then I still have one more shot. I don't think that MajOr expected this. This is a big series for him. He wants to make it to the round of 16. It's time again. We all know that MajOr is good enough for the round of 16, but he's going to have to go up against this guy, our reigning champ of WCS Premier League Season 1, representing Cooler Master Storm. It is Polt.
And his opponent is a man of many nicknames and many jokes. It is, of course, MajOr. MajOr's such a troll, man.
He is.
It's always funny to be around.
No, he's always had. It's really funny because MajOr online is a very difficult person to deal with. You know, like of course there's something that maybe not most fans won't know, but you know, if you're organizing tournaments, then dealing with MajOr can be an absolute nightmare. As online, he can be just hard to deal with. He can be hard to reach. He can be hard to communicate with. But offline, he's a very lovely guy. He's always happy. He's always cheerful. Doesn't ever complain about anything. He's just a good player all around. He's a good guy to have. But you know, at the end of the day, it's all business thought, and he wants to make a run as well this season. Last season, he was in a very difficult group, got close to defeating Bunny, got close to defeating Violet, but you know, close is not good enough. This time, he wanted to go further, probably looked at the group, you know, that's like, okay, that's a doable group for me, right? Well, now we're in the lower bracket match going up against the reigning champion of Season 1.
He always talks about his TvT too. For the longest time, you know, he's been his strongest. He went as far as saying that nobody can beat him in TvT, which definitely is a very strong way to be confident about your mirror matchup. But here, he's up against a Polt who I think he has a better record against than almost anybody on Earth. Offline, though, didn't quite have the same success than in the online games, but I really do think that MajOr here has what it takes to possibly beat Polt. And he thinks so as well. I spoke briefly with him. He's like, well, you know, TvT, definitely one of my strong matchups. I think I can do well here, just going to need to play well.
I mean, you know it. Going into a WCS season, when you go out, if you want to make it far, you're going to have to defeat the best. Of course, you don't expect to meet Polt in the first round of the lower bracket in your group stage, round of 32. But, you know, if you want to make a deep run, eventually you have to beat players like Polt anyway. So this may very well be an excellent moment for MajOr to start. Taking a closer look at the build orders, gas first on both sides. So we'll probably see quite some aggression. You know, and this is normally when I ask Nathan. You know, Nathan is so lovely to cast TvT with Todd because he's like...
you don't need to do anything, basically.
Exactly. He's like, you know, like you throw in a quarter and he keeps on going. It's lovely. It's like, Nate, so talk to me about TvT. And then he just keeps on going and I love it, you know. I can just listen to Nate for days. But now it's you and me. But I do know, you know, that Ravens are very popular in this matchup. Often you see one Banshee into a Raven, into a Viking. And I'm kind of expecting stuff like this. But with the second gas going down for Polt, it's possible that we'll see some Cloak Banshees as well. But I kind of need to have Nate on speed dial over here.
I've seen MajOr in TvT actually back in the old map pool. He had some builds that he was using many times in a row, but they were just so strong that even when their opponents were expecting those, they still did very well. One of those builds is, as you said, you know, sometimes there was a Raven mixed in, sometimes not, but he was going for tanks and very strong pushes. Remember behind the natural of Overgrowth where you can siege and snipe, like, you know, some of the walkers on the middle line from there. On these maps, it's going to be much harder here to do something like that.
Yep, he's opening up with a few Hellions. He has the latest second refinery. So, this is not a good engagement at all for MajOr, as these Reapers got a couple of shots off. His second Reaper joins a little late. Probably did not expect Polt to have his units on the high ground over there. This can already be small trouble. Ends up losing that Hellion. Sloppy for MajOr, was unnecessary. I think he can decide to take this fight right now, but so far good micro on the side of Polt. Let's not forget that that Banshee is on the way. Is it going to be a Cloak opening or not? Yes, actually it is Cloak. Man, all those hours next to Nathan, I've learned something though.
TvT early game like this, one base versus one base, reminds me of Warcraft 3 so much. It's just like so few units and all micro.
Archmates against the Farseer, the good old days we will never forget.
MajOr with the much earlier second base, but I mean, how ready is he going to be for the Cloak Banshees here of Polt? We've seen Cloak Banshees do a lot of damage here and there when in this kind of scenario here. So somehow, I guess he needs to realize. Do you think he's going to scan?
I'm not sure if he's going to scan. I think he's going to try. I'm not sure if he's expecting this, especially if he sees the amount of Hellions that Polt has over here. They're even. The first shots are going to be very important. I think this is a good engagement for MajOr, as he got a couple of good shots off. Pretty much splashed over all those units from Polt. But now he is going to spot this Banshee, and he has to get turrets up at home.
He's going to go in the main with the two Reapers here to try and get some snipe on some of these SCVs. But the Hellions here are coming back for Polt, and he's flying across the map now. with the one Banshee that he has.
I'm still very worried for Major. He doesn't have attack lab on his starport, so he can't produce a Raven. That eBay is not even done yet. Imagine if that Banshee just idles above SCVs trying to build that eBay. That would be the most frustrating thing in the world. Cloak is ready in 10 seconds though, so at least that Viking is buying a little bit of time, ushering this Banshee away for now.
Yeah, that's really nice for Major here. The eBay being finished. He's already started the turret around the natural. Oh, he failed. He's following the Banshee though.
Yeah, but it's not too bad. At least he pushed it away, and like you said, he's buying a little bit of time. Widowmine goes down as well, so his scan...
Oh, the turret.
It's gonna finish up. Oh,
Can maybe snipe that too.
And gets 3 SCVs. I mean, 3 SCVs is okay. That's probably something he's quite nice with. But if these Reapers can get 1 or 2 SCVs on the other side of the map, I think then it's a pretty acceptable trade for Major.
Yeah, Major earlier was playing some ladder and met some Terrans. Actually, it's funny. Polt was right behind him. And Major was looking at his game listing and like checking, you know, the game that he had played against 4GG, played against Happy earlier. Actually lost that in a very long game with battle cruisers and all. I can only hope we're going to see something like that here.
I mean, these two players, we've been talking about it over and over again. They've got a lot of history, and like a lot of the series that they have played against each other were in 2014. And I've guessed the majority of them, you know, in the Intel Extreme Masters Toronto qualifier, Red Bull Battlegrounds North America qualifier, Red Bull Battlegrounds North America offline event. I've guessed pretty much all those series that they've played against each other, multiple best of 3s, some even best of 5s, and there were a lot of mech games. Of course, that was a different map pool. We're talking King Sejong Station, you know, Vertical Spawns, Dead Wing, like those were fantastic mech maps. I am not sure how Major is going to play it out on this one, but I'm starting to get the feeling that he might want to mech it up over here already on Coda.
Yeah, in TvT, definitely, you know, one of the trends. Major also, like, you know, in the way he plays, a lot of the time he tries to emulate what basically the best Koreans are doing, and a lot of the best Koreans, well, they like to play mech here and there. So wouldn't surprise me at all here.
Small Hellion skirmish in the middle of the map. It's very nice for Polt that he has picked off so many Hellions already from Major, because Major obviously wanted to achieve something with these Hellions, but he's never been able to put the pressure that he would have truly loved to put on Polt. While Polt has a pretty good idea of what's going on. Of course, Polt is going for bio. He's capable of playing mech as well. They've had a couple of mech versus mech games, but we all know that, you know, true Polt style is bio. Polt loves being all over the place, loves to show off his multitasking. That's just who he is.
And bio versus bio, this is pretty cool here. What do you like to see the most, mech versus bio?
Yeah, no, I like the mech, bio versus bio the most by far. And actually, I'm happy to see that Major is still going bio, but it's kind of a delayed. Stim is going to be a lot quicker for Polt. I'm a little bit worried. He does get that Banshee, so that is nice. But I feel like overall Polt has got a minor advantage for himself. His stim is going to be a lot quicker. He has a Raven, and we all know how important Ravens are when it comes to tanks positioning on either side. So I kind of like how this is going so far for Polt.
The drop was really nice by Major, by the way. He killed 3 SCVs and saved everything that he had. Look at his APM, man, those Terrans. They're pretty fast.
When they're playing.
But not as fast as the Zergs, but much faster than the Protosses.
Why? We've got F2, man. There isn't too much more to it. There's a reason why Blizzard gave us that hotkey thought. It's to use it.
Everybody needs a little bit of an F2, I guess, once in a while. I actually never use it personally. Well, maybe that's why I'm terrible.
I use it 5 times a game, and I'm not ashamed. Flying around with 5 observers in the middle of the map, that's me. Every Protoss will know that feeling, at least to some degree, if you've used that key a few times. Anyways, you see Polt, he's trying to you know, get us some map control. These Cloak Banshees being very effective with it. Like, players just having small trades on both sides, but this is what I meant. Like, Polt is going to push out, and I think this is already going to be quite a problem for Major. His stim is going to be pretty bloody late. He's down in siege tanks, as Fonka is showing us as well. And let's not forget about that Raven. So even though there was, I believe, a minor Viking advantage for a Major, yes there is, 2 against 1, with that Raven there, I think Polt is going to be able to go for the very first lockdown of this series, and I know you love your lockdowns.
Yeah, but 4 tanks to 3, Major just climbed back to 3, so I guess he has those in defense, here back at home. I mean, doing a lockdown now is nice, but against, you know, in a mirror where Terran has so much mobility, you know, to fly around, it's not necessarily going to be the biggest of deals.
I think it's pretty inconvenient though for Major, because eventually Polt is going to fly over his command center. He's going to be able to stabilize on 3 bases.
Oh, he's sniping the Medivacs in front of the lockdown with the Vikings. Like he had 2 volleys and then came back, didn't take any damage. Really nicely done here. Very high level TvT so far. A lot of small, you know, details in the execution from both.
I'm a little bit surprised that Polt just used the energy on his Raven like that, because I kind of feel now he gives up on this contain. So maybe you were right, mate. Maybe Polt just didn't really want to put too much into it. Now this Raven is actually completely out of energy, and these Vikings might just be able to pick it off. That is very nice. That is such an expensive loss for Polt, and this is going very well for MajOr all of a sudden.
Both players adding on a lot of production, actually. I think they're both going up to 5 barracks here, with a third command center each. A little bit of a later on here for Polt, so MajOr, macro-wise, still doing a fantastic job. Supply-wise, this is so even. This is dead even.
I think it's going to be very difficult for MajOr to take this base right now. Once again, flies it over towards the
yes.
middle.
2 medivacs on the bottom left-hand side. Like, it's going to be time soon for the, these drops.
Oh, those SCVs were misrallied, so MajOr's going to end up losing 4 or 5. Well, actually, just ends up losing 2. Some of these tanks decide not to shoot at them anymore. There we do have that drop, and there's also, I believe, no, never mind.
Yeah, that actually can do a lot of damage, that double drop on the bottom left-hand side, if MajOr was to go for it in the natural.
But at the same time, Polt is unloading a lot of units into the main base. Tim did finish up, or Combat Shield, I believe. But a lot of those tanks on the low ground for Polt, like just demolishing all of those Marines in the main base of MajOr. MajOr really has to do something with all those forces he has on the south side of the map, Todd.
Yeah, he's gonna go for a snipe on the third base here, possibly. Polt's trying to land. The misclick again.
Yeah. It's like, it didn't land. I must have
he's
misclicked.
gonna get that.
Yeah, I think he will.
Deal.
These Marines have a lot of DPS. They, of course, have +1 attack already as well. This is a great snipe, but let's not forget that MajOr is losing a lot of SCVs on the other side of the map as well. If I was him, I would bring these Marines back home.
Oh my God.
If he takes out all of these tanks, though, I don't like where he's unloading those Marines. I would love to see it more on top of the... No, I guess he couldn't.
Polt wasn't paying attention on his army here, so he lost a lot instantly. But across the map, MajOr wasn't paying attention to his army, so he lost everything that was there and got cleaned up. So now we find ourselves in a situation where Polt is 40 supply ahead. But he lost his third CC. That's the big problem here for him, but I don't think he minds. I mean, I trade not having a third base against a 40 supply lead at any time.
Yeah, but I mean, he's slightly ahead, I believe, when it comes to upgrades. His +2 attack is already on the way, and the armory is not even done yet for MajOr. MajOr also lost 10 SCVs, so even when he is in orbit or ahead, losing all those SCVs and losing those 16 Marines or so at the bottom side of the map, I think that really hurt MajOr. That sniper, that orbiter was great, but after that, he should have just brought those forces home immediately and tried to clean up the soft contain that Polt had on him in a more efficient manner.
Oh, the medivac. The bomber medivac, man.
Bomber would do that with 8 medivacs. So.
It's still the bomber medivac. If it dies full, it's the bomber medivac.
I do kind of like that MajOr tried to expand where he went, because that is obviously a very good position for tanks to siege up in any phase in the game. That will always be in range of the infrastructure. But if MajOr would somehow stabilize at that what normally is supposed to be the fourth base and now would be his third, it's very hard for tanks to ever get in range of that infrastructure. So I do like the idea behind it. Unfortunately, Polt never gave him the chance to truly stabilize on that location.
Yeah, it really seems like it was Polt's plan all along. Just be ahead on the tank count, get that position here. And your opponent's always going to have production facilities here in range for the tanks to do damage. But I guess MajOr's still trying to find some room here and there to do some damage.
Yeah. Just 8 Marines is not enough. If you, he has to be careful. That is a bomber medevac. Wow, he actually lives. Definitely not a bomber medevac, Todd.
A tasteless medevac.
Living on the edge.
Oh, he's getting surrounded. Look at this.
Yeah.
Units coming from both sides here for Polt. He knows that this is here for MajOr. He's going to want to look to clean this up and pull even further ahead in the supply lead.
Yeah, I guess one of the medevacs as well, which was carrying 4 or 5 Marines +2 attack, has finished up right now for Polt. So his Marines are a lot stronger. MajOr is floating an insane amount of gas, by the way, but just doesn't have any minerals. That's a pretty okay drop, I'd say, on top of the tanks. He's able to pretty much reset the tank count, but that doesn't change the fact that army supply, it's 103 for Polt and only 63 for MajOr.
It's 5 for 5 tanks, but Marine-wise, 64 to 28. Like, how do you win that fight? You need like the biggest tank shots ever and the opponent to attack into like a cliff, a ramp.
And he doesn't exactly have an upgrade advantage either, as Polt is the one with the upgrade advantage. I mean, if MajOr is able to stabilize on 3 bases, Todd, then he can still try to sing this out slowly but steady, try to get some good trades and just let his supply go up.
Yeah, that small medivac drop at bottom, gonna do some damage, but I mean, he's gonna get a clean momentarily, I think.
He's buying time for himself, though. I mean, obviously, if he can get being closer to max out, that will always be good for MajOr, because in a certain time, Polt can't get any further ahead than he is, so then MajOr will be able to start catching up. But Polt already with his +3 on the way.
When Polt is this far ahead in supply too, what we've seen a lot from him. Oh, the medivacs! What? Okay, these were bomber medivacs. Okay. And they, I can't believe he boosted on top of that. I don't think he realized that Polt's army was there, and MajOr flies the last of his remaining forces into some very angry Marines.
Yeah, we saw him being active with a drop on the south side of the map. I think he was paying attention to that, trying to pick off as many SCVs as possible. But instead, like you mentioned, he picked up a lot of forces into medevacs on the north side of the map and flew them over Polt's Marines. Well, if those medevacs die, he was already down 40, 50 army supply. After that, well, it wasn't really an engagement, more like that massacre.
Yeah.
It would have been 65 to 70 army supply down, and Majors is like, all right, this is not going to happen anymore.
It was a bit weird how Polt had like 8 tanks or something back at home, just like not really doing anything. I think if the game had dragged on for a little bit longer, he probably would have done what he does a lot, like in general, when he has, you know, a bigger army and sometimes even against Protoss, and attack the third base and drop the main at the same time just to exploit his supply lead, rather than attack with everything into siege tanks, which he probably still would have won if he had done that, just because he had so much more.
Well, Polt takes a 1-0 lead in this series. We're going to head over to a very small commercial break, and after that, we'll be right back with game number 2 between Major and Polt. Welcome back, everybody, to WCS Premier League Group F. We are in our lower bracket match. Polt is currently up 1-0 against Major. Do you think Major is going to bring it back, or we will see our reigning champ live to fight another day?
I hope he will, to at least to a game 3. I like to see longer series, I like to see good games. And this was a very well conducted one here from Polt. It really felt like the entire time, basically, no matter how the start went, he was just planning on basically getting a lot of tanks and then just sieging from that position around middle of the map. That was really cool.
Yeah, I think it very early on, like in TvT, especially in mirror matchups, like you as a Protoss player notice as well that the very first engagement in the game often really sets the pace for the rest of the game. And I think Major opening up with more Hellions and more Reapers obviously wanted to get some sort of economic damage done, but instead he ran up the ramp where he didn't expect Polt's forces to be. And that's just a tiny thing, right? And Hellion in the start of the game, that can't possibly mean that much, right? Well, it kind of changes the entire way that Major wanted to play that, because suddenly he realized that his aggression is not going to be as powerful as it could have been. There was, of course, that Banshee getting a couple of SCVs here and there. I must say, I was still really surprised to see the way that Polt used his Raven, that he just dropped those auto turrets and ended up losing the Raven.
Yeah.
But other than that, Polt played a very good game. Game number 2 is going to be played on Vani, and Juanito, also known as Major, is going to have to bring it back if he wants to still advance. The winner of this series will move on to the deciders match, where they will face either Elaser or TLO, as that is going to be the winners match of Group F that will be happening after this.
And here we go. We're on Vani Research Station here for map number 1. And starting in the bottom side of the map, it is playing as the Red Terran, playing for Team Cooler Master Storm. It is Polt.
A lot of fan support for Polt as well in the house. I mean, they're not as loud as when Dario is playing, but I can still hear them from here. And there's quite a bit of distance actually between the room that we are and where the fans are. Over here on the top side of Vani Research Station, one of the last representatives of the North American region, it is Major.
In the previous game, if you were a Major and like you're trying to find your mistake, surely like it's not easy to clearly see where it was. Like personally, like I don't know, I'm not a Terran player, but I'm not sure what exactly went wrong and like when it really started to go wrong. What do you think?
I think it was just a little reckless all around. Like I wouldn't say careless, because obviously I'm sure he was trying, but like a couple times he just made a move command. A couple times he, like even at the end of the game when the game ended, just picking up all your units and flying over Marines. Like a few times, a matter of fact, did survive with a few HP, but that just happened a few too many times. I think there were a few missed opportunities for him.
He didn't make enough tanks, man.
I mean, it was difficult. Yeah, he did have a lot of gas, but he was always under a lot of pressure. And I think if the opening would have gone slightly better for him, if he was actually able to put the pressure on Polt that he wanted to put, then it would have been harder for Polt to start moving out as quickly as he did. And I think we could have been looking at a completely different game, because obviously Major kind of gave up map control when his stim was going to be so much later, and he was going to be down in tank numbers.
Our favorite StarCraft philosopher, Nathanias, once emphasized very well how important the tank count is in a matchup.
The quote that we will never forget. That was Major against Supernova, correct?
Yeah.
In the good old show matches.
And back then already Major was very far behind on the tank count. Happened again in the previous game, gonna have to be careful.
Polt's opening up with a Reaper over here, while Major once more went for a gas first. Factory going down at 3 minutes and 4 seconds. It's pretty much the quickest factory you can get without completely wrecking your own economy. I'm curious to see what's going to be. What I'm kind of expecting is a few Marines and a Hellion, and a matter of fact, I think anything else. Well, he's actually opening up with a he's following it up with a Reaper. So maybe it's a similar opening. Maybe once more it's the Reaper into Hellion.
Both players scouting for proxies here, by the way. In the previous game, it was just Major. It's funny, every time I see like, you know, a non-Korean player scouting for proxies against the Korean player, I feel like it should be the opposite.
You remember Bling against SOS from Gfinity?
Yeah.
The greatest series ever played. PvP of the year.
The thing is, on this map, it's like proxy heaven, right? Like Vani is, I think, the best map to proxy. There's just so many locations. You need to check for all of them. It's really annoying. Then you lose minerals if you do. But if you don't, and then you get proxy, then you're in trouble. So both players at least gave each other respect here and went for a good scout.
The Reapers had a little meet and greet in the middle of the map as well, fired at each other a couple of times, and then just decided to go home, like in the good old days in the Wild Wild West. You meet someone, you have a shoot-off, and you're like, all right, it was nice meeting you, sir. Safe trip home. So both players know, of course, from each other that there is a Reaper. Major can't possibly know yet about the follow-up. He doesn't know that there is a command center going down as well. But I mean, I like it a lot that Polt has 3 depots over there on the top of his ramp. It's going to make it very hard for Major to be very effective with these Hellions, unless Polt messes up. But like Polt having high grounded advantage over here, if his Reapers are in a good position, he should. Oh, okay, well.
And Major needs to do damage here. He's invested a lot into this. The second command center here of Polt is about to finish, whereas Major's just started only. So he's gonna have to at least, I guess, kill a few units here and there, maybe do some
Ooh,
damage.
that's very risky for Polt. Polt actually taking a lot of damage on one of these Reapers. Now there are 2 Hellions over here for Major. And let's not forget, Polt doesn't have a whole lot in production. There are
And he
2
can't
Hellions
prepare.
on the way. Yep, that's very nice. This depot is probably going to fall, and quite a few SCVs will fall. Oh, he shot at the rocks there. Unfortunate for Major. Major needs to do more though. 2 Hellions, that is nice and all, but I feel like he needs more.
Yeah, double Hellion is not going to come out here for Polt. Major pulls back. He waits for one more. I think he's going to get right back in there. Try to get a snipe on that depot. There's a single SCV. Oh, but he loses a lot of units before finally opening the door.
Yeah, I think those were very good shots over there for Polt. Even though there's slightly more HP, I believe, on one of these Hellions. No, actually, it doesn't really matter. And there are 2 more Hellions about to pop. I think that was a pretty good hold for Polt.
Yeah.
Ends up losing a depot, losing 3 SCVs. But like you mentioned, Tal, that command center for Major is so much later. He definitely hoped to do way more damage here than he did.
Well, behind this, though, Major's feeling pretty confident to go for a Widowmine drop. And being a Protoss player myself, I can tell you these things can do a lot of damage. The
No,
thing
they're-
is he going to have enough back at home?
They're actually a lot less effective against SCV though. It was really funny. I've been playing a little bit of Terran lately myself on the ladder. And there was a dude who flew a couple of Widow Mines into my middle line. I was like, because you know, you're a Protoss player, and then suddenly like 3 SCVs died. I was like, ha 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 ha. These SCVs don't have shields, young man. So it's actually not that scary.
The Widowmine. I think he saw it. Yeah, turrets for Polt, being a little bit paranoid here. I guess since he had no vision whatsoever in a major space, he didn't know if whether there's going to be a Banshee or not.
Yeah, I must
So
say,
how many kills do you think this drop is going to get with the Widowmine and 4 Marines?
I can't possibly know that, Johan.
Well, you played some Terran, you said.
All right, 2 SCVs.
Just 2?
Yep.
Okay. The Viking. Gonna miss it. Just 2? Still?
Just 2. I'm gonna go with 2.
Oh, he left the Widowmine there. I guess for the Viking.
Right, that's 1, Johan. Matter of fact, does get picked off, so these...
He's
Marines
trapped
are
now. You might as well go for it. You don't know.
Yeah, 2.
Detonation.
No, he's gonna get 3. He gets 3rd SCV over here as well. This is actually pretty effective. I'm very surprised that it takes Polt such a long time to
where
react to
was
this.
he? He was like waiting at the ramp. I think maybe he thought like a drop's gonna happen in the main at the same time, or maybe at the ramp, or maybe out on the map. Took forever.
Ends up losing 3 SCVs. Also lost a missile turret though.
He needs to scan for that. Or I guess he can just sit there and wait until Major unburrows and move that, because the Widowmine still.
Yeah, the Widowmine doesn't really give a whole lot of vision either. Like, it's one of these moments where, you know, we as observers, we can see everything, so we can see there are, you know, he could put tench, or this is not a good moment to unbarrow it because there are units nearby, but Major doesn't know that. But he's gonna wait, he's gonna sing it out for a little bit.
And turret is in range to detect it.
Yep. But I mean, Major can see that. There is a Banshee on the way now as well, but fortunately for Polt, he does have Vikings on patrol, and he does have a turret going down once again, as that missile turret will... Actually, wow, he burrowed it out of vision. Cheeky little mine. What a cheeky mine.
Big supply block here for Major, by the way. 70 out of 70.
He's so busy with that Widow mine, I can't blame him. Like, I would try to make it my mission as well, to keep that mine alive. I mean, he's definitely distracting Polt, because there is nothing in position over here.
He's gonna get some kills.
Yeah, the Banshee has somehow avoided all Vikings that were on patrol. This is not nice. Like, TvT, once again, is all about you being the aggressor. As long as you're the aggressor, things are going well for you, because you got map presence, you're doing stuff on the other side of the map, and we all know that in StarCraft II, it's very rarely good for you to just defend, unless you're on a truly superior army composition or you have way better upgrades. Just defending is not a place you want to be. Definitely not in a mirror matchup.
Do you think Polt forgot about the Widowmine?
I don't think he forgot about the Widow mine. Like,
He didn't think
he's been very focused on that Widow mine, man.
He was to be moved, man.
That Widow mine is full of ambition. Like, I think we can see this Widow mine blossom into something beautiful one day that will burrow and kill a lot of SCVs.
Major's just in a great position.
Yeah.
Having the third command center already, whereas Polt only starts his now. This is just...
No, he's been getting a couple of very small but very favorable trades. We know, you know, in mirror matchups, it's hard to make the difference. Especially when you play similar style to your opponent, there is very little wiggle room. There are very few opportunities. But Major is finding those minor opportunities. He's killing a few SCVs here and there. You know, he's picking up a Hellion or two on the map. He's taking away map presence from Polt. I really like the way that Major is playing this. And overall, I definitely think he has created maybe not a significant advantage, but I love his position. And I think almost any Terran lost Major's position right now.
Yeah. Surprisingly, Major is not getting a single turret himself. Like, not even one at the natural.
But this is just all these small traits are so good for Major. Like he's taking the Zelnaga Watchtower again. He saw that army moving out. He know what he has to worry about. What I do wonder though, Todd, is he going to bring his forces down the ramp, or he's going to let himself once more be contained? Even if it's a soft contain, I think he's going to try to run them down the ramp, and this is going to get very dicey, very quick right now.
And Polt back at home is getting a sensor tower. Actually, this is interesting. Really wants to make sure he's not going to get dropped on his natural, even though he's applying pressure. That's even weirder. Oh no, Major.
Oh, that
Still lands the CC. What? Pull back.
Oh my god, Major losing 2 or 3 tanks before the battle even starts. But he does get those Marines very close to the tanks of Polt, but it's not good enough.
Wow.
And suddenly everything swings into Polt's favor. Major not being ready, missing that army, moving via the left side, going via those bushes. The Marine.
That went so bad.
That was awful.
1-1 complete, says Major already lost a lot of his army. Polt's now heading supply. The third orbital is now morphing.
Okay, the only thing that Major can make out of this thought is that Vani is a pretty long map, and most of the forces from Polt are still all the way in the south side. I was kind of thinking about it in my Widowmine as well. The Widowmine has finally died.
It's gone.
Yeah, it will be gone forever. Maybe a little frenzy splash
Will be
damage or
remembered,
something.
man.
Yes, he is. But I mean, like this was a massive trade for Polt. This was a trade that Polt really needed as well. There is one more Christopher Columbus over there on the south side. He sees the reinforcements, so Major knows if he wants to sandwich his army, he's gonna have to do it real soon, or he's gonna go for the reinforcements.
Oh, he was trying to catch the reinforcements.
Yeah.
I think this is great here.
I mean, he's making this very awkward for Polt. What do you do right now if you're Polt? Do you unseat all of your tanks and you're gonna bring them back? Will it even be in time? This is awesome for Major. Very well played.
Major even like using the Vikings very nicely on top of the tanks here at the lockdown, sniping one of the medivacs very, very quickly.
Yeah, Polt not having any vision right now of those
he's
tanks of Major.
He's not going to flank this from behind. He's moving right across the map here.
Yeah, but his tanks are in range right now, so Major has done this very well. I mean, the start of this fight, when he lost his own tanks, when he lost a few SCVs and Marines, that didn't go well for him. But then he's like, all right, Vani's a very long map. It's a map where it's very difficult to reinforce. You have these units here, yeah, that's fine. But that's a problem for you as well, because how are you going to protect them? How
And
will
here
you
we
keep
go,
them
Major's
alive?
going to break out. Moves out with a little Marines teams right in there. He's going to clean this up, and he's now ahead in supply. And with earlier upgrades, if he can somewhat fight, obviously not attack into, you know, like a lot of tanks, but when he's 2-2 against 1-1, he's going to do great. But he's going to fight before that.
Yeah, I don't really like this fight that much because most of the units were not participating in the battle at first, and I feel that Polt is getting a much better trade over here. Major might win in the end, but I think it's safe to say, look at the army supply right now, it's suddenly a lot closer. Major was 20-30 supply ahead. He started that battle with only 1/3 of his Marine army over there, and that's why he lost a few more units than he was supposed to
Oh, the
lose.
2 Vikings against the 2 Vikings. A classic matchup here.
All right, I'll take it
The
away.
2 Vikings are going to win.
No, actually it's going to be a double KO on both sides.
Oh!
And that Marine is just standing there. He's like, man, fireworks have really improved in this day and age. Like,
How about helping him? I think he's going to get executed for his mutiny.
yeah, it is reflected. You know, he was not accepted. He wanted to join the Red Army. It's like, no, sir, you're not welcome. Once a Blue Marine, always a Blue Marine. As Major historically was said, he's taking more control of the south side of this map over here. Like, it's hard for Major to really push the issue, right? He does have that upgrade advantage right now. Ooh, throws down his scan, sees that Polt has a lot of...
Polt went into double factory earlier than Major, but he's only 1 tank ahead. Major is about to have his own second factory here.
I mean, how many missile turrets do we have in the natural over there in Vani? Well, we have a lot of Marines as well. Like, it is very, like, Vani is a great map to drop, but when your opponent is this ready for it, when you're talking about a 155 supply army, I think it's going to be very hard for Major to find a window of opportunity to fight with that upgrade advantage that he has.
At this point, Polt is looking for some room here to go around and do some kind of counterattack, but...
I think it's a wise decision of Major. Sorry, Todd, but I think it's a wise decision to retreat over there. Like, I think he was hoping to find a window, was hoping to find an opportunity, but Polt had such a good setup, and I think it's very smart for Major to say, like, all right, you know I have better upgrades, I have slightly more units, but if I fly into missile turrets or Marines right now, I'm just going to trade very poorly. I don't want to do that.
Major doesn't seem to mind going into a longer game here against Polt, or I guess he didn't really have a choice. Either that or attacking into the tanks, but now Polt's moving out. Major sees that this could be happening. He scans, sees the army out of position. He's going to get that command center very quickly. Can he repair on time? Yes.
I mean, there are so many units coming in from all angles right now. The flank is great, but Major has reinforcements streaming across the map as well. Not too many SCVs have died. I think so far Polt is actually doing a phenomenal job in defending this, as he had more units there at first than Major, and he will be able to push Major
He might
back.
go for a counterattack. He has so many tanks. He has 9 tanks against 0. Major has 0 tanks right now.
I'm not actually. I think that's
think
the only
this
thing.
is over.
I think the only thing that Major can maybe do is try to force a fight as far away from his base as possible with the Marines. Like I think he's trying to do right now. But even when it comes to the Marine numbers, Polt is not in a bad position at all. Major fighting without his metapacks over there.
He needs to pull the boys, man. It's not gonna work, but he needs to pull them anyway.
Against 2 Marines, do you know what happens to the boys, Todd? The boys won't stay in town for a long time. I can guarantee you that.
2 tanks here up for Major, but I think Polt's just gonna. He could literally just attack right through there. And just crush it, and he's gonna do just that.
I feel like he's always fighting with more metapacks as well. There's way more healing power in the army of Polt. Polt taking a 50 supply lead in a game where I felt Major was dictating the pace of the game, was looking for openings, created a small advantage for himself, picks up that orbital as well, and that's almost like the icing on the cake already for Polt. Right now 70 supply ahead, a base ahead, as our reigning champion of WCS Premier League will live for now. Going up against a nemesis is maybe a big word, but a player that he has struggled with a lot in the past, Major, but not today, is what our Captain America said as he takes him out 2-0.
Apollo, you silly man.
Who's a crazy fan in the audience, though? Oh, well.
They're good friends, though. Like you can see, Polt coming over, talking casually. Well, I just made more tanks, bro. what you gonna do?
I think Major played very well, especially I think in game number 2. It's so hard in a mirror matchup, you know, to truly attack and to be like, all right, I know I'm a little bit ahead. How am I going to capitalize on this minor advantage that I've built up for myself? And Major thought, you know, like by kind of rotating around and trying to go for that orbital over there, that he was going to be able to trade well, but in the end he didn't get the orbital and he lost a lot of his tanks. His reinforcements were a little bit late to the party, and Polt was able to fight with even upgrades, and that was basically the key fight that dictated, you know, the outcome of that game, because Major played a very solid TvT there, other than the biggest battle in the game.
I really thought that how ahead he was going to be able to make something happen, you know, drop while sieging the third base, but Polt's just way too solid to let that happen, and in the end, maybe an overeager attack too early by Major got punished with the counter attack. But man, that tank counts. So insane. Every time somebody makes more tanks, they win.
I mean, it's so difficult though. Like, how do you drop a guy that has Marines in his natural, that has a missile turret, that has sensor tower, that has all of his infrastructure and a few units in the main, and then also has like tanks sieged up on the low ground? That is just very difficult. And I don't think Major necessarily wanted to make that big fight happen when it actually happened. But I think it was more like, hey, you know, we're both kind of doing a ring around the rosy over here in the middle of the map. We're just dancing. Maybe if I siege up right now, it will be good. But his tanks were a little bit too exposed. There were too many Marines working on that orbital and then not getting it. Well, it really backfired.
Of course it was difficult, man. This is StarCraft. This is a
always
difficult game, but not impossible.
Well, our reigning champion is up the desk right now with Apollo to talk about the TvT series he just played. So Sean, take it away.
Thank you very much, Todd and Rotterdam. I'm joined here by the Season 1 champion, Polt. We've got a Korean flag over there for you, Polt. Must be a little bit relieved, obviously, after picking up that victory against Major. But before we talk about Major, I want to take this opportunity to speak about Tilo as well. I mean, we heard Tilo's side of things. Coming into today, Season 1 champion, everyone's expecting you to win the group. You told us that you're the Season 4 and fourth title, fifth title, Season 2 and Season 3 champion. You lost the first match. What was going through your mind then?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, as I interviewed before the match, I told you I prefer to play best of 5 or best of 7 over best of 3. I'm kind of weak in best of 3 because there's not many chances to see how my opponent plays. So I sometimes lose actually. Well, before the match, when I was coming to Germany, I thought Major would be the biggest threat to me because his TvT is his best matchup and he's actually so good at that matchup. But other two Zerg players, I thought their TvT is lower than Major's TvT, so I focused more on TvT. I think that's why this happened. I should haven't underestimated other players. But right now, I've played 3 games against TLO, so I think if I face him again, then I think I have a good chance because I know how he plays. But for Erasure, it's kind of dicey. I don't know.
Dicey. I'm sure Rotterdam is smiling about that back there. Pig, you got a question here for Paul?
Well, I just wanted to say congratulations on that game just there. That 2-0 was very commanding. I wanted to ask your feelings about how you played that series. I got the impression, I'm no TvT expert by any means, but it felt like you were playing a bit more defensive and you were very focused on trying to get to the mid-game and the later stages. Did you feel like if you reached the later stages, you were confident that you could win with better mechanics and higher skill?
No matter who I'm facing up against, I'm sure I'm better at that player in the late game. I think I'm the best in the late game. But for TvT, there's so many aggressive openings, and you can just lose game so easily. So I wanted to go make it longer game, even if I get some disadvantage in like economy or other facility things, and it pretty much worked for me.
All right, so you got another question or? So just final question then, I'll let you get ready for your last match of the day. So let's just say this was TLO to play in the next match. You know, regardless of the result back there, you play TLO in the next match. This is the match you're most confident in. You could probably tell us you're going to win, right?
Yes.
If it's a laser, this is much more dangerous for you.
But actually, I want to play a laser.
Has that got something to do with these people over here?
Yeah, these people over here. It's really sad.
Here's a question. So, how is it playing? You've played in a lot of different countries. You've played against a lot of home favorites. German players in Germany, French players in France, blah, 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 blah. How is it playing? How is it dealing with that, knowing that they're behind the other guy really badly?
Yeah, to be honest, when I had less experience, like in 2012, when I went to outside of Korea, I was not that famous or popular compared to right now. So I was never a fan favorite, so I had a lot of hard times, especially against foreigners. Right now, I thought I'm kind of okay, even if I play in Europe, but I think I really want to go back to America.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, Polt. Let's take a look at the bracket one more time here before we get ready for the next match. It's going to be the winners match. It's going to be Poland versus Germany, a laser against TLO. One of these players is guaranteed to play in Toronto, Canada. Which one will it be? The crowd 100% knows who they're cheering for. Who are you cheering for back at home? Let us know on social media. #WCS. We'll be right back with the winners match.